the UK and European countries, obviously Europe as a whole, I don't think that the EU really has a common foreign policy when it comes to China. I think that's probably if it did, I think it would be a much stronger actor vis-a-vis China. But I think there's a tremendous division within the European Union about how to deal with China. And so when we talk about Europe and relations with China, we're really talking about lots and lots of small member states. And we could get into a lot of talk about all different European countries and how they deal with China. I would say realistically, many people would say it's really the UK and France that have an important relationship with China. I think Germany's relationship with China is also incredible. Others less so, particularly Italy, Austria, Spain. These are all not unimportant, but they are much less important than those others. And the other countries are all much smaller in terms of their footprint dealing with China. So these are all distant powers from China. Not close to China. They're either small powers, really what I kind of like Austria, or medium powers. I mean, there's sort of Germany, UK, and France, those are medium powers. Right? The security relationship is historically quite limited, particularly if we look at the period sort of post-1920 or so. Right? There's not a very close security relationship between any of these European powers and China. There's some influence, though, on security by European concerns about collective security of Europe, NATO, ties to the US, and there's always worries about security on the European side. But China's not necessarily thinking first and foremost about Europe or the UK when it thinks about security calculations. There's not an obvious security issue on which to cooperate or compete. Coalitions can shape the economic relationship here too, but with an important wrinkle, which is that European states, especially in recent years, have an important domestic debate about the degree to which what I'll call values ought to shape economic relationships with countries like China. And this is where European states do not align. I think, for example, the UK and Germany are taking very different lines right now when it comes to this. Right? To what extent should various countries in Europe have strong cooperative economic ties to China when they do not see China as in line with however they define their political or ideological values? That's an interesting question that keeps coming up. And it's one that also interestingly came up in the context of the United States and was completely shelved in the 1990s in the whole debate over most favored nation status and whether to tie this to human rights and values and so on. People like Nancy Pelosi, in fact, were trying to tie values into the debate, and Clinton and others on the Republican side as well basically said, no, we push all of that to one side. We're not going to deal with that. We're going to prioritize economic relations and security cooperation where that can happen, and security competition. In the European context, I think in part because the security question is not as simple or not as clear, the debate with how to deal with this values question is much more alive. And the fact that European countries do not line up on the same side of that debate, I think will make it harder to have a unified Europe.